so much for doing this, man. I appreciate you taking the time to fucking bullshit with me, man.
Yeah, dude, no worries. No worries.
Dude, I mean, you've been doing this for well over, 30 years and stuff, man. Like, what do you think the future of live music's going to look like? Because, I mean, my wife and I were just talking about this earlier. We were supposed to see like 5 shows this summer, and they're all canceled.
Right.
And my wife was like, when do you think the next time will be in an arena to see Roger Waters? Probably not while we're still alive, but who knows, So, like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think's the future like?
I mean, I think once, I know like lots of bands, like I know Kiss has said, unless there's a vaccine or a cure, we're not going to tour and put our fans in danger. Mm-hmm. A lot of bands are of the same mindset, which makes complete sense. Now, like we're adapting to overcome, I think, and that's what bands are doing, and we're planning something along the same lines of what bands are doing now with the streaming stuff. But I don't think this is the wave of the future by any means. I think once, I think we're going to tolerate it, and people are going to tolerate it because it's the only means of a concert. It's the only way to actually see a concert of your favorite fans. And I think once this is all said and done, no matter how long it takes, that it's going to go. I mean, there's nothing like seeing a band live. I can't see this thing, like stuff like this influencing a young kid to go, oh, I want to play guitar, or I want to play bass, like what happened to me when I saw Kiss. You know what I mean? I don't think this is going to have the same effect.
Yeah,
but,
I think it would have been weird for me as a kid to have been like, dude, one day I want to stream my music. It's like,
I want to do a concert from my garage.
Well, dude, we've done that before, man. I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah, pretty much. But it'll. Hopefully this is over sooner than later, but I never expected it to last this long. So
it's even my wife. Yeah, my wife works for the CDC, and even she was just like like the last show I saw before everything shut down. Like my drummer and I went and saw Devin Townsend, and we were at that show on a Friday night. Man, we were like hugging. It was like 1,000 people in the place. Hey, taste my beer, and then all of a sudden, like and all of a sudden, like Monday, my wife's like, I don't know if you're gonna go to the Jeff Tate show next week, but it should be okay. Maybe it'll be okay by Wednesday. I'm like, by Wednesday, she was like, yeah, you ain't going anywhere, and then that was it. And I was just like, God, it went so drastically fast, and you guys were in Europe when it hit, right?
No, we were last we were in Europe was last December.
Okay.
So, there were kind of rumblings about it towards January and stuff like that. And we did 3 shows this year. I think 2 in February and 1 in March, and we were supposed to have another show. And we were like, well, one thing we were worried about is they were closing borders, and ZP lives in the UK, and that's where his wife is. And and all his stuff, and so he's like, man, I gotta really think about getting home. He goes, if I get stuck here, my wife's back there. What's she gonna do? She can't come here. And so we were like, yeah, man, let's get you home. We did the show, and then he bailed the very next morning.
Okay, that's what it was. Because I remember Rob said something along that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And that's the last time I saw him so far. It's like we talk all the time, but oh man, it's like I haven't seen the guys since that last show. I saw Scotty once. Because I had to fly to LA for something, so him and my girlfriend and his wife and son all went out to a socially distanced dinner with each other. So,
like literally, hey, can you toss me a roll? Like, hope you're a good catch, dude. You know, it's like,
yeah, go long.
You know, it's just, I mean, you know, and of course, like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's like everything is just fuel. Of course, now it's like the rumor mills are just like fueling like all over the place, you know, like bands are breaking up and stuff like this. And it's just like, you know, and I've just noticed that there's this, you know, it's almost like bands are actually just getting tired at some point, just coming out, like, just being like, you know what, like, you guys are going to hear music from us, so just chill, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
This year, so I've been obsessing. I think I told you about this already. Like, I've been obsessing about the Moscow Music Peace Festival lately.
Yeah.
Why I don't know, but like, it was 31 years ago, like this month that it happened. Like, does that blow your fucking mind or what, dude?
Yes, it does. I was just talking about it the other day, and I forget who I was talking about it to, but yeah, it's just like, man, I was, you know, what am I? I was like 25 then, and I was just, it seemed like it was happening to someone else. You know, we were on tour with Bon Jovi, and then, you know, we were told, yeah, you guys are going to go to Russia to do this concert. It's like, okay. So we knew, you know, my mom was worried. My dad was like, hey, man, watch your ass over there and all this stuff. And so we just got on a plane and you know, with all our peers and got hammered on the way over there. And then got there, we do this big press conference and all this stuff. And it's just like, wow, this looks just like it did in movies, you know, it's just all gray and brown and stuff. And, you know, back then, I didn't even give it a second thought, really. It's just like, it was kind of another gig. I had no idea the gravity that it all would have, and it would be our generation's Woodstock, you know what I mean?
Right.
On a, so to speak, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just one of those concerts that go down in rock and roll history. And now that I reflect on it, I'm like, man, I still didn't see it coming. You know what I mean? I did not see that as the big deal that it was, probably because I was in the middle of it and shit was moving so fast at that time. It's like we were here, we were there, we're going to this country, that country, you know. Like, I'm a kid from Tom's River. I was lucky, you know, furthest north I got was like New York, you know. And then
you're like, I'm in the big city.
Yeah, and then a couple trips to Disney World when I was a kid. So that's about as worldly as I was, and it was, yeah. Still to this day, I'm like, man, it's pretty cool to be a small part of rock and roll history.
You know, and it's so funny because I remember it clear as day. You know, I was in 10th grade. Yeah, you've seen a million times that the Skid Row shirt on my school picture was like that year, and like I had like 3 friends and we all pulled our money together and we got the pay-per-view thing, and I just remember we were watching it, and you know, for like, you know, 3 dudes like in Jonesboro, Georgia, just, you know, who've like barely even been out of the Southeast, if at all. And we're watching Skid Row like on stage in Russia. And I just remember thinking, like, first off, we thought you guys were killing it, but we were more excited to see what a Russian hard rock band would be like, because we were like, do they even know how to play?
Gorky Park, right?
I was like, do those guys play instruments over there? Like, I mean, we didn't know jack shit about Russia other than they had, you know, weapons, you know, or whatever, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So was that a pretty big, I mean, coming from kind of similar situation, like you said, coming from like, you know, a small place like Tom's River, like, was that kind of a culture thing for you to kind of just be like taken off guard at like just everything, maybe even Gorky Park, who was playing music like that?
Well, you know, the Gorky Park didn't really take me aback, but what did is, when I heard they were like a Russian supergroup. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So, and yeah, because all you do is you, like, as a kid, you picture people in Russia being oppressed and eating, you know, broth and
fish heads,
potatoes and stuff like that. And it's just like, that's what you picture. And then I heard they're a supergroup, but I know everything about music, and I don't know any of the bands they came from. And it just showed how closed off we were from, lifestyle in Russia, and just the culture in general. So when I met those guys, they couldn't have been nicer guys, and they played really well. And I was like, wow, okay, this is cool,
Yeah.
And but just being there, just everywhere we went, there was either militia, the police, or KGB not far away. And yeah, it was pretty wild, man. It was pretty wild. Like, we do stuff with MTV, and there's militia sitting right at the corner in the car, just waiting to bust your ass, Make sure you don't do anything stupid. Don't film where you're not supposed to film, and all that crap. It still, like I said, to this day, still blows my mind that we were even there.
It's funny. I even heard a story about a parent, and correct me if this is just rumor or whatever, but I heard that you were trading T-shirts with some Russian kids for like a military hat or something, and you pretty much almost got popped. And I can't even imagine what it'd been like to be like 25 and going, I'm going to jail in Russia. This is gonna suck.
Yeah, and yeah, so we went after one of the shows. I guess it was the first show. A couple of Cinderella guys and a couple of us, and I forget who else. We wanted to see Red Square, so we went after the show, and it was nighttime, and it was really cool. And these kids came up to us, and one of them spoke pretty good English, and he's like, "Hey, do you have concert tees? Do you want to trade for something?" And I was like, "Yes," because I collected hats, like military hats at the time. And I was like, "Yeah, can you get me a militia hat?" And they're like, "Ooh, yeah, we could get it." And so I go, "All right." I said, "I'll meet you." I go, "How do you want to do it? Do you have it in your car now?" And he's like, "No, we'll meet you in front of the hotel next to the buses in about an hour." So, okay, cool. And in about an hour, made it about a little after midnight. So I went out with a few concert T-shirts and some other junk, and the kid gave me the hat, and I just because what I'd heard, it's like you can't take any kind of military memorabilia out of Russia, and I was like, I'm getting a fucking hat. So I had it under my jacket, and I heard a car pull up behind us, and the kid's face just went completely blank. There were 3 kids there, and only one spoke English. And they got out of the car and left the back door open, and the guy was pointing for me to get in. And I go to the kid, and I still have the hat under my jacket, and I go to the kid, "Are we going trouble?" He goes, "Very much." That's what he said to me.
Very much.
And, yeah, so then the other kids started yelling, and they started getting in a shouting match, and I turned, I looked at the car, I looked at the back of the guys who were either militia or KGB, I'm not even sure, probably militia, and I looked at them, and I looked at the car again, and I thought of the last thing Doc said before we got out of the bus when we first got to Russia, is like, if anyone gets arrested here, they're fucking staying here. And I'm like, all right. And I just hauled ass, man. I hauled ass up the flight of stairs and through the doors. You're supposed to show your passport. I forgot my passport in my room, and I just bolted through the doors and got on the elevator and hit every fucking button on the elevator because I knew I'd know, it was just all of us. I know I would know someone there. And just knocked at the first door I saw, and it was a couple friends of mine from a record label, and I was like, holy fuck, you won't believe what's happening.
Dude, get me under the bed, quick.
Yeah. So I don't even think they gave a shit. I think they just wanted to scare the fuck out of me, which, fucking mission accomplished. So, yeah, it was pretty crazy, man. It was pretty crazy. But I got the hat. I got it home.
Well, so I guess the big question, do you still have it?
It's somewhere. Yeah, I'm sure it's in a box. I know I saw it when I was packing boxes when I moved out of Atlanta. so it's here somewhere. I'm gonna have to post that.
I was gonna say you should
picture of it.
frame that shit in glass, dude. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
I have a couple special hats. Actually, a hat that I got while I was in another hat. It was from a Marine, and it was like their formal hats, you know, when they're all in their. I'm pretty sure. I want to say Marine. I got to look at it, but they signed the inside of it for me, and they said, "Man, you can have it. Will you promise to wear it in a photo shoot?" And I said, "Absolutely." And then the first photo shoot we did after Russia, I wore it.
Oh, dude, that's
yeah. And I still have it. I still have it somewhere.
That must have been pretty heavy, you know, like going over there and seeing all these kids who were just for years, just, I mean, yeah, I even did some reading on Gorky Park and about how, like, even those guys, like in their other bands, like they had to be secret, like they had to play in underground places and they couldn't, you know, and then if you were caught, you got in trouble. Like, and these kids were getting to see Skid Row and Ozzy and all this shit, like, so did it kind of give you a sense of like appreciation for what you have back home that you maybe didn't have before you went there?
Yeah, we didn't get to see too much of that. We just heard about like stuff like music on the black market and stuff like that. And that's why they knew Ozzy so well, is because Black Sabbath was huge on the black market over in Russia. So we, yeah, you know, I didn't really know how, like when we got there, stuff was already happening, like the wall was coming down and all that stuff. So it was like one of those things where we didn't get to see how bad it was, and we didn't really hear too much about, you know, having to like having to hide listening to music and stuff like that. We didn't really know it until we left. Oh, gotcha. So, but it makes sense. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense that, you know, they would have to. I mean, I couldn't imagine living in a society like that. But I'll tell you what, man, we've been back to Moscow since, and it's a completely different place. Like the hotel we stayed at was called the Hotel Ukraine, and it was supposed to be the nicest hotel and the tallest building at the time in Moscow. And we walked in and we're like, Snake and I were sharing a room, and I'm like, man, I know we don't stay at the best hotels at home when we're on tour, but wow, this one's a dump.
I heard the cockroaches outnumbered the band pretty much.
Oh my God, dude. It's like you turn the lights on and it's like they just all split. We're like, oh, they're going to be in the bed. But yeah, it was bad. It was bad. And when I saw European Vacation, when every channel was like the cheese channel or whatever, that's kind of what it was like. Had buttons on front of the TV that you press for a channel. And it was, yeah, it was something different, man. It was really extremely different. And a couple of the guys, I think Scotty was in a cab, and he said, man, you could buy vodka right in the cab. And I was like, well, that's pretty free thinking. You know what I mean?
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, so.
Hell, you can't do that in an Uber now, you know?
Yeah. All in all, man, yeah, so that hotel, that it's a Radisson now, and like those stairs that I ran up are gone, and it's beautiful. Moscow is absolutely beautiful, man, and there's cool bars and really, really nice people, and I love it there, man. It's cool. The traffic is worse than anywhere I've ever been. That's the only downside. We had a meet and greet that we were doing, and it was 3 miles from the hotel we were staying. This is the last time we were in Moscow, or maybe the time before, and it was 3 miles, or I'm sorry, 10 miles. It took us 3 hours to get there.
Oh, gee, you could have walked, man.
because of the traffic, and our driver was cutting through parking lots. And it still took us 3 hours to get 10 miles. It was, and that was just getting out of the city. So, and that was about a mile and a half of it. And then we got onto the road, and it was just a country road, and it was about 7 miles outside of the city. Right. We were golden, but we were just stopped. We were stopped. And the big joke was as we were going down this one street, there was this gigantic Skid Row poster for our show. And we'd drive like 3 feet, and someone would say, "Hey, Skid Row's playing tomorrow night." And we'd point at the sign, drive another 2 feet. One of us wise asses would go, "Hey, Skid Row's playing tomorrow night." And that's all we did for a better part of 2.5 hours.
It's like, hey, anyone happen to know if Skid Row's playing anytime soon? It's like,
exactly.
Let's look up.
I wish I could read how much admission was.
That's fucking great, dude.
Yeah, it was funny as fuck.
But it's so funny because, like I said, when I've been thinking back on this festival, and the fact that it was like 31 years ago, and there's so many great festivals. Like you said, there's like Woodstock, and even Altamont, and which was legendary for the mayhem of that, and Atlanta Pop Festival, Monterey Pop Festival. Like, why do you think that the Moscow Music Peace Festival hasn't been recognized so much over the years? Because it almost seems like it's almost experienced some form of obscurity too.
Yeah, it's funny. There's books coming out about it now, and I know they're making a documentary about it. But yeah, I think it's the genre. Mm-hmm. To be completely honest, I think it's the genre because we were the bands that weren't taken 100% seriously. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, this, dudes, chicks with dicks and big hair and all this stuff. And I don't think society and just the industry, for one, took us all that serious.
Right.
We were the bands that were laughed at by the elitist, and
right.
So, but you know what? I played a small part, and Skid Row played a huge part in the Moscow Music fucking Peace Festival. So I could rest my head on the pillow knowing that every night, not giving a shit what anybody else thinks.
See, and that's the amazing part, because I've been going back and watching the sets from the people, and of course I'm not going to blow smoke. I say what I mean, but dude, there was something about Skid Row, man. When you guys hit that stage that day, there was still that hunger and that fire and that you were still proving yourselves, and that translated so much coming off the stage. And I just remember thinking, I can't believe that band was a new band at the time. You guys fucking held your own on that lineup.
Yeah, we were just excited to play, man. We always were. We were always really, really excited to play in the beginning. And it, there was a ton of people. That was one of the biggest crowds we ever played in front of. Now, did we know they didn't know any of our songs? Nope, but we didn't care, I guess. And, in between each song, I was like, what the hell are they yelling? What are they? They're chanting something. Is that in Russian? And then I realized they're chanting Ozzy. They did it between just about every band, between every song of every band until Ozzy came on.
And then even after they were like, Ozzy, more Ozzy.
Yeah, exactly. More Ozzy, more Ozzy.
More Ozzy.
The funniest thing was, and it didn't make sense at the time, but somebody held up a big, gigantic sign that was the Kiss Army, that patch. It looks like that arm patch type of thing.
I was a member.
Yellow and red. Yeah. And I was like, Kiss isn't on this show. But then I started realizing, I was like, this is a celebration of music, and this is a celebration of freedom in music and freedom to listen to music, you know what I mean? So people are just like, man, I'm just going to hold up every band name that I know type of thing. And yeah, the first night there was a big Kiss Army sign out there, and I was like, okay, I get it. I totally get it. This is really about freedom, without a doubt.
And it's probably the only way too that they could actually communicate to you that like not only were they super psyched that you guys were there, but they were just like this like American music, like Kiss means a lot to me, you know, kind of like, you know, it's that kind of language. It's that language through music, you know. It's like, you know, you put the big Kiss Army sign on there and you're like, oh, they like Kiss. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they don't have to say anything.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It was awesome, man. It was really, really awesome.
Well, so then you guys got done with that. You took some time off. You put out Slave to the Grind. And of course, like, you know, that was such a huge growth from the first album, you know, lyrically and musically. But like, the older I get, the more I find that album, like I really kind of connected. There's a lot of darkness to a lot of those songs. Like, so where did that come from? Did that come from just the overall experience of touring, or did you just kind of grow up kind of quick or something?
Well, yeah, it all was very organic. I don't think, like, we did, as far as songwriting, we didn't plan on getting heavier. We didn't plan on getting darker or anything. But, you know, there was a lot of life experiences between the first album and that. Because the first album, I mean, they always say you have your whole life to write your first record, you know?
Right.
And that's when we were writing songs at the time, that's where our heads were at, you know? And then as we grew as people and as players and as songwriters, we just went off in different directions, you know? And like I said, lots of life experience in between that and the first album that just kind of, you know, chronicled where our heads were at, you know? And it's such a vast difference. Even sonically, the record is such a vast difference than the first album. And I don't know whether that's good or bad, you know? I think a lot of people were expecting part 2 of the first album, which probably would have been the smartest to do financially, but it's, you know, I mean, we're still at, you know, we still sold a few million copies of Slave, and it's still selling, which is great. And you know, I think we're at about, I don't know, 20 million worldwide with all of our records. And man, I can't complain. I cannot complain about that. But Slave was one of those things where it's like, wow, this is coming out different. And when Snake and I were writing this stuff, we knew it and we weren't worried about it. You know, I think their label was a little worried about it, but we weren't worried about it.
Well, because like I said, like, you know, at 46, when I listened to Slave to the Grind, like I remember how excited I was when it came out, you know, like, like when I was still in high school. And then like when I listen to it now, sonically, like it's kind of like what you said, like sonically between the two, there's such a difference. But what I loved about it was it sounds like life experience. It sounds like experience that you maybe even got from like hearing other bands while you're out on the road and things like that. But it was lyrically is where it really hit me. I mean, you know, not to dog it, but you know, the difference between, can't stand the heartache versus like Quicksand Jesus. You know what I mean? Like I was like,
yeah, sure.
I was like, that was in the span of one album. Like, you know, over 2 albums, like sometimes some bands I feel like take 3 or 4 records to get to that point, you know? So like how did that happen so fast?
Man, I wish I knew. It just, I think lyrically, you know, the lyrics that I wrote, it was, like you said, we grew up a little bit. And the lyrics that I wrote, I just wanted to be a little, have more substance to it, you know? And we, like, Chain Gang, for instance, was just pieces that was frustration. Probably what a lot of people are going through now. Just like, you know, just hearing about murderers getting off scot-free. Well, you know, people that are just, you know, stealing a loaf of bread go to prison type of thing. And and that was a story that was on the news, something to that effect, and it just really frustrated me. It really, really frustrated me. So when we started writing that, I started jotting down lyrics, and Snake is like, man, this is cool. We need to run with this. And I was able just to get a little more poetic with stuff, and I was a little more mature where I was able to have the ability to get a little more creative, and just I didn't let any doors shut, and I didn't put any parameters up or anything like that. And It's just like, man, well, let's write what we want, and then if we gotta backtrack a little bit, we'll do that. But let's just do what we want, and we managed to do that and keep keep it to where it was still easy to sing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the song Creep Show was all about Angie Bowie just destroying David Bowie on all the talk shows.
I remember that,
I was
dude.
so mad.
I thought that song was awesome.
What's that?
I said, I thought that song was awesome, dude. Because I totally remember reading that that's what it was about. And now whenever I go back and I hear it, like, I just think it's brilliant, man, you know?
Yeah. I was just so mad because he's like my idol. And I was like, who is this? I mean, it just was pissing me off so bad. So that's what came about.
And that's something that I always think that, like, you know, at least I would hope another younger generation, especially now, would find Slave to the Grind an album that they could connect with, because in a sense, it almost kind of reminded me of the way Alice Cooper used to kind of conceptualize his albums, with a lot of, you know, with some political and some social commentary and whatnot. But it's stuff that, for better or for worse, you know, continues to be. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't go away, you know? So even a song like Mud Kicker, like, that's still, there's always going to be some fucking angry metal kid who's just going to be like, fuck the man, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the teenage angst is always a good thing. And we still tend to write like that. And I haven't been a teenager for a really long time.
But you never remember the shit that you go through as a young person. And I mean, call it baggage if you want, whatever somebody would want to call that. But, you know, even for me, like I said, like in my 40s, like there's still shit that pisses me off that happened to me when I was 14. You know what I mean? And so if it's something you've experienced in your life, like it's never too late to address that. Do you know what I mean? Especially if you're a songwriter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's funny. My dad always used to, he'd hear someone criticizing like their kid or something like that. And he'd always turn to me and goes, man, they forgot what it's like to be young. And that always resonated with me to the point where I wrote, I don't carry it anymore, but I wrote on a piece of paper and carried it in my wallet as a teenager and a young adult to say, don't forget what it's like to be young. That's what it said. Don't forget what it's like to be young. And I was lucky to have folks like that understood my angst and probably had the same when they were young and just let me be me. But yeah, I used to carry that around in my wallet all the time, just not forgetting. So when I see a kid doing something stupid now, I'm like, I did the same shit. And it's like, okay, he wants attention. I did the same shit. You know what I mean?
It's like the neighbor kid over here from us, like, you know, on the other side of our fence. Every now and then I'll catch a big old sniff of just pot smoke and I'll just go, yeah, dude, I totally know where you're at, man. You know what I mean? Like, been there.
Exactly.
It's almost like I just want to tell him, dude, I've been there, and guess what? It'll be okay, man. You'll be just fine. You know what I mean?
Yep. Don't sweat it.
So another thing I kind of wanted to interject about the Slave album was, did you know that is an extremely rare thing to find on vinyl?
What, Slave?
The Slave to the Grind, yes.
Oh, really? I think it's being reproduced on vinyl.
I hope
it's
so,
coming back
man.
out on vinyl.
I haven't found because I think I traded a copy of mine off for like a Dio record, which might have been a good trade, but I missed that album, you know. And so, but I was like,
That's a good trade.
Yeah, but I was like, maybe I'll buy it back, dude. I was like, $80. I was like, maybe I'll just ask Rachel if he has one.
Well, if you think about it, like everything had transitioned at that point to CD, you know.
Well, that's what they were saying, because a bunch of my friends who are record collectors were like, yeah, man, like right around that time Slave to the Grind came out, like that one, Use Your Illusion, Metallica Black, they were like, they were only printing out like thousands, because at that point, stores had quit carrying vinyl.
Yeah. And, but I know our first album just came out on vinyl. And so I'm assuming that Slave will be coming out as well.
Now, do you have any kind of input when that happens? Like any kind of like participation in the packaging or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
they'll call us and let us know it's going to happen and get our blessing.
Mm-hmm.
But like we like to put a little extra with it, and that's not always what the distributor wants to do. So it's one of those catch-22s, you know. But yeah, I mean, I have the first one on vinyl already, but I saw it come out on 180 grams, so I went and bought it. I was like, yeah, I'm buying our record.
You had to buy your own record. That's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, I wanted to. That's my thing. Every time one of our records comes out, I always go and buy it.
That's awesome, dude. I saw the Slave to the Grind headlining tour here in Atlanta at the Fox with Pantera. Mm-hmm. And you guys had that ginormous fucking stage setup. I've always wanted to ask you. I kept forgetting to ask you. Where is it? Like, where do stage setups like that go when you're done with them?
That we sold most of it to a lighting company. Or no, it was a power company, like Show Power or whoever it was, and they used all those set cards for cables. The stairs that we had that got sold to maybe got sold for scrap. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's all gone. The louvered drum riser. The louvers, my dad and my brother had a louver company. They're the ones that did that. So those panels of louvers are somewhere in my storage.
Oh, that's bad. For some reason, I always just pictured this gigantic storage shed that had the Skid Row stage still there.
Yeah. It's funny. We took the light bulbs out of the stairs, and we repurposed them for something. I forget what it was, but I think they're long gone now too.
Do you miss a big, huge stage setup like that?
Sometimes, yeah. You know, it's like when we do festivals, especially, it's like, man, that'd be cool to have all that crap, you know. And then other times it's just like, you know what? We go out and we do the same show with or without that shit. And we're gonna go out and we're gonna. Plan is annihilate Earth. You know what I mean? That's the game plan every time we step on stage. So.
Well, it's interesting because like when I always appreciate when bands like that, you know, like you guys, Cinderella, you know, bands like that who have kind of like over the years, like you just, it's like if there was ever any doubt that you're a good band, you know, you lose the smoke and mirrors and then like you've just got a great show. Like last time I saw you guys, it didn't even cross my mind like, oh, I wish they had stairs. You know what I mean? I was like, this is a fucking great show, you know?
Yeah, you don't go home humming the staircase, do you?
I love it when you talk dirty to me, man. But so speaking of re-releases, the Roadkill VHS was like, to me, it was one of the best home videos a band ever put out. It was one of my favorites. Like, has there been talk about a possible reissue of that, or do you think that'll ever see light of day?
Man, you know, we've been. The truth of the matter is that Atlantic owns the videos, so we've been trying to get them to release that, and their whole thing was, yes, we'll release it at this like completely unfair reduced royalty rate. And it's just like, at that point, it's like you're not making anything. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
eventually, I can honestly say this, though, because it all comes back to us eventually, that it will be out. So all the home videos will be out. Yeah.
It's like they want to take you to Chinese buffet for lunch as payment, and you're like, no.
Yeah, sorry, a Starbucks gift card is not payment for that, you know.
Because that thing was so well done. Like even now, like I miss that V8. I was like, I would love to see that again. You know, just especially like, you know, made for DVD and like nice and crisp looking. You know.
Yeah, without a doubt, that was some funny shit.
So you told me once that if you wanted to hear what a band sounded like breaking up, to listen to Subhuman Race. What happened between the Slave tour and the writing and recording of that album that brought on that kind of lack of, you know, that like loss of direction or whatever? Like, what happened between that? Was it just burnout or?
Yeah, burnout was a big part of it. Just, you know, personality conflicts, that was another big part of it. And it was also the climate of music and, you know, the way music in general was going. And it, you know, we weren't, it wasn't the optimum recording situation either, you know. It just wasn't, it didn't feel right. Like we went to the studio, our process was always rehearse, pre-production, get it done, get these songs the exact way we want them, and then go to the studio and throw them down.
Right.
This way we know them like the back of our hand. It's second nature, and here we are. Well, with that, we were recording as, you know, as we were kind of writing, you know. We weren't even done writing songs, and then our producer changed stuff so much, and we're, you know, and it just didn't feel, nothing felt right. Not to me anyway. Nothing felt right at all, and it's just like, when it was over, I couldn't wait to get on a plane. Honestly, I couldn't wait to get the fuck home. And yeah, it was just one of those things, you know. It was just one of those things where it was just a kind of a shitty experience all around. There's some cool songs on there, you know. There's some songs where I like the demo better. You know, I like the demo for Frozen better. I think we put that on 40 Seasons. I like it better than the studio version. I love Medicine Jar. I love Beat Yourself Blind.
Those are all the songs that I'm thinking of. Really cool. I thought the title track was great, you know, like, but you know, like kind of like what you said, like if you feel like it was kind of like, do you think that if you guys had taken a break, say like a longer break, that things would have been different, or were you guys kind of hustled out by like the label to be like, you guys need to get something out on the heels of, you know, Slave?
No, it was, well, I mean, they were calling Snake and I, it's like, okay, write. Start fucking writing, you know what I mean? But honestly, dude, the turmoil within the band was just, it was fever pitch, you know? So it wasn't like, it was just tough, man. And I'm sure every band goes through it, but it was just, it wasn't fun, you know?
Yeah.
And that's it. And then here we are. Okay, now you're going to the studio and you're doing, the whole process is so completely different than what you're used to doing and successful with. Okay, let's do that. Okay, this thing is not broke. Let's totally fix it. And it's like, all right, well, you know, it was just weird. It was a very weird experience. And like I said, the inner turmoil was just unbearable. So
was touring behind that album kind of painful, knowing that it was such a grueling process, just recording and writing it?
Touring, actually, what we did is this thing called a live listening party, and we did select shows, and the whole album played while the people were in the crowd. Then we went and we did our show with choice cuts off the record, and then did a big meet and greet after the show while the record played, and that was our live listening party. And we did, I don't know, we did about 10 or 15 shows. They were packed. They weren't as big as the places we played on Slave, but they were good size. Right. You know, a couple thousand. And then we decided to go and tour for Subhuman, and it was awful. It was absolutely darkest days. The darkest days, dude. Oh, man. Like horribly dark. And, you know, we're getting there, and we're playing in front of one row of people, you know, and I'm like, wow, people aren't dressing the same anymore, you know. Everyone's in flannel shirts now. What happened, you know? And it was just, yeah, it was tough, man. It was like some shows, because sales weren't great, the ticket sales weren't great. They, you know, the promoter would skip town and skip out with whatever money he made, and we wouldn't get paid. And then there was other times where, you know, we get into the dressing room, and there's literally our catering for the dressing room was like a 6-pack of water, and that's it. And they're like, well, they cut the catering, and they cut this, they cut that. It's like, yeah, okay, it's time to call it a day. You know, a man's gonna know his limitations. You know what I mean? So, yeah, and that was it, man. And we went to South America. We did a few shows, and one went really well, and a couple went not so well on festivals, and we just came home and all walked in different directions. You know? But now,
you know, with the United World Rebellion, you know, you got 1 and 2 out. You know, I'm assuming we're going to have a 3, or, you know, I think I read somewhere you were talking about maybe it's going to be a full length, maybe, or something like that, or.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Like, one of the things I loved about that was that, well, for one, I thought Johnny was a great singer for the years that, you know, I mean, for having to come back behind Sebastian and the bullshit that he had to put up with, man, I thought he was a trooper, you know, and I loved those 2 EPs. And I thought it was a really great move forward for Skid Row, but it was almost like you guys kind of had to take like 2 steps back to move forward, because, if that makes sense, because it sounds like it could have come right on the heels of like Slave, which is a good thing because it still sounds very relevant and you know, it doesn't sound dated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was kind of our mindset. We're like, okay, let's just clear our heads. What I did before we even started writing one note or one word, I went for about 3 months and only listened to bands that I grew up listening to. And I'm like, and the reason that is I didn't want anything getting into my head that wasn't true to who I was. You know what I mean? Like, it's as many new bands as I love, you know what? Skid Row couldn't pull off a song that Green Day could pull off. You know what I mean? Right, and I love Green Day. So I didn't want to listen to them because they weren't there when I was a kid in the 70s. You know what I mean? Right. And so all I did was listen to Ramones, to Kiss, to AC/DC, to Aerosmith, to Rainbow, you know, everything like that. And that's all I did for 3 months. I didn't even turn on the radio because I didn't want anything to infiltrate and get in there.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so then Snake did it for a little while, I believe, and we started writing, and it all of our stuff started sounding true to who we were. And I listened back to even like Thick Skin, and I'm like, you know, some of the stuff goes in a different direction, but I'm like, this stuff could have been on Slave or on the first record.
Right.
So when it got around time for the EPs, that's when we really made a conscious effort to, okay, we got to retrace our steps. Because it's really easy. Like, I don't know how many bands I listened to growing up that you know, they just forget, again, they forget who they were, you know what I mean? And forget how the songs, you know, like how they wrote songs in the past, you know, once they got all rich and famous, the stuff started changing because the hunger was gone, I guess. And, you know, I just wanted to retrace those steps. And let me tell you, dude, it is not easy. It is not easy to dig up your roots, man. And when you're this far into your career, it is not fucking easy. And
yeah, not even when you're that far into your career, but when you're that far into life. Do you know what I mean? Where you're just like it's crazy to me to think that like digging back to a Skid Row record was 31 years ago. You know what I'm going?
I know.
Jesus fucking Christ. I'm like, that's older than like what Led Zeppelin was when I started listening to Zeppelin. That's crazy.
It is crazy, man. I never imagined that we'd be talking about an album, one of our albums 30 some odd years down the road. It's crazy.
Is it kind of humbling at the same time? Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. To sit here and like when we go, like now we go out, we play, we're still selling out big shows. I mean, people are always saying, you know, oh, you guys don't do any big shows anymore. No, we actually do. You know, what's big to us, you know, and might be bigger than for some bands, you know, we'll sell out of 5,000 tickets and stuff like this. And when we go out and we play, and it's just like, we don't take any of this for granted. You know, we're in our career. We're far into our career. We've made member changes, and people still come out to see us, and it makes us feel really good. And it is very, very humbling. I mean, it doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah, I mean, and it's very obvious too. And now, like with ZP in the band, like it's almost like it's gone to another level. And I almost feel like he kind of lit a fire under you guys a little bit, you know. So like,
without a doubt. And if you ask anyone in this band, they would say the same thing. Without a doubt, when he came into the band, he excited us, you know what I mean? He brought this energy in with him, and obviously the guy's voice is just ridiculous, you know what I mean? And he does stuff his own way. And it's like he just kind of came in like he owned it, man. Yeah. And it was great. I loved it.
Well, he came in a fan, which makes it even, you know, which makes that connection, I think, you know, even stronger, you know. So like when you come in and, you know, it's one thing to be a great singer, but to be a great singer who's got a respect and a familiarity with the music that the band has, you know, like that just takes it to a whole nother level. Yep.
Without a doubt. And it takes us to another level. And, you know, we're like, okay, this guy's amazing. We got to step it up, you know, and that's good. It's really good for us because he's 10 years younger than us. And like you said, he listened to us growing up, and it's just working with the guy is so much fun and such a pleasure. And he's become one of my closest friends. And, you know, he stays here. He lives at my house when, we're touring the States a lot when he doesn't fly home. And it's just, he's just a good dude, man. He's a great singer, a great front man, and just an all around good person.
That's awesome. I know I had the pleasure of meeting him when the last time you guys played Atlanta at the, up in Johns Creek, I think it was. And, sweetest fucking guy. It was like I'm like, dude, don't thank me, man. I'm just like, you know, like that's awesome, you know. But that show in particular was like one of the first Skid Row shows in a long time where I felt like I was like, God, this is heavy, you know. I mean, like emotionally, musically, everything just seems to be clicking, you know.
Yeah. My one of my best friends, John, in New Jersey, he said to me, he goes, man, I haven't seen you three, meaning Snake, Scotty, myself. He goes, I haven't seen you three look so relaxed and so happy on stage in a really long time, like really long. And I was like, yeah, we are. You know what I mean? We are. When we are relaxed, it's like playing with Hammersmith. I don't have to worry about shit, man. I know that guy's going to hit all the cues, and I know he's going to do all his parts right. And as a bass player, all I got to do is keep up and sink in, man. And, you know, and then with Z, it's just like he just commands a crowd.
Yeah.
He just friggin' commands a crowd. And, you know, I'll never forget the first few shows we did with him. And it was us and Slaughter at what the hell's the name of that place in Connecticut? It was a little arena there in one of those big casinos, Mohegan Sun Arena.
Oh, okay.
And so we played there, and it was like I believe it was his first show with us, and there was like 4,000 people, and we got on stage and we played, and we were just so blown away. And Scotty turned to me, he goes, "This guy's the best singer. He is the absolute best singer." And I go, "I know." I go, "Look at him in front of 4,000 people. What is he going to be like at a festival?"
Oh,
and Scotty goes, he goes, "He's going to be a fucking warrior."
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me about the new stuff. So we had 2 EPs, and now we're going to have like a full length. So what was the decision to do a full length instead of like a third EP?
Well, Z, first off, and second, it's like, okay, we did the EP thing. EPs are cool. They're easy on the artist because it's less you have to stress about. But we just wanted to get back to what we knew, and so we're just like, let's finish this thing off strong. Let's finish this trilogy off strong. And so that's where we're at. We have a bunch of songs we recorded with Michael Wagner, and we're going to write some more. And, we'll see where we go with it. But yeah, I mean, we recorded some really cool shit with Michael, and, we hope, unfortunately, it's even more difficult to get together now because of COVID and all this shit with Z overseas. But we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out and get this album done sooner than later. We've actually gone with a management company. We've been managing ourselves for long enough, and so we're with Eric Baker at Primary Wave Management, and it's working out really well. And it's nice to have a team behind us to do stuff. And we're looking at we got a couple really cool deals on the table to put the record out, and we're psyched, man. I'll tell you, to be this far into a career, and still have people interested is a very, very, very good feeling.
Let me tell you, man, there's nothing more gratifying than a band being around for 30-something years that someone's parents would say, "They won't be around for another year."
Yeah, right. It's a fad.
It's funny. It's like I remember having this conversation with my dad before he passed away 8 years ago. My dad was like, "I never thought those bands that you listen to would outlast the Beatles." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "How do you like them apples, Pops?" Like it's a little weird, but it happened. So
that's fucking funny.
Well, so I guess to kind of close things out, like, what are we, in a nutshell, what are we going to see from Skid Row, and like, what's going to go on? I mean, you got to give us something during all this crap, man.
Yeah, we're going to do some stuff. We've done some cool stuff with some songs as far as like video wise, and we got some stuff cooking, but I'm not allowed to say anything yet. So because once it's solidified, but we got some stuff cooking. We plan to do some streaming things. It's like I said, it's a little more difficult when it's one thing to be in different states, but to be in different countries, it gets a little more challenging. But we're going to figure that out and hopefully get a show out there soon.
Tell me about the soap, dude.
I started this company called Dirty Rocker Soap. It was an idea I've had for a couple years, and just never had the time to put it into motion. I was taking time to secure licenses and trademarks and all that stuff, and I just did it for a couple reasons. One was just in all the hotels we were in all the time, I just didn't like the soap. And I was like, man, I got to start carrying my own soap. It's just such a pain in the ass. But it's just one more thing, and I'm like, it's a bar of soap. It's like not going to take up much room. So a friend of mine makes her own soap, and I grabbed a bar of hers, and I took it on the road, and I was like, man, I'm going to do this. And every band and artist has a coffee or a hot sauce or whatever.
Or a beer.
I'm going to come out with a soap. Yeah, and so exactly. So, like I said, so after that popped in my head, I just let me secure the name and all that. So I did, and then when all this hit, I was like, okay, I'm going to have some time off, it looks like. So I just I commissioned my friend to make some, and then soaps that her and I formulated with the scents and the oils and all that crap. And I made a small batch, had her make a small batch, and it sold within a couple days. I was like, ooh, okay. And now
retirement.
It's like keeping up with and now keeping up with demand is something else. So I'm so happy and so grateful for everyone just like getting the soap. It's cool, man. It's really cool. And the one really cool thing is, relating with fans of the band on a different level, you know, just talking about stuff, like just through Instagram and inbox stuff. It's just like, hey man, why don't you try this in your soap, or try that and this and that, and soap is cool. I love this scent and love that, and it's just cool, man. It's like we're talking about soap, and it sounds so silly, but you know what? We can talk about music, but talk about something different is fine. So let's talk about soap. But yeah, I'm really grateful. I'm really happy for everything, and it's just been a lot of fun, and it's turning into something a lot bigger than I expected. But it's cool.
You see what I love about that though, dude, is that like it's, at least for me, like I still consider that a creative artistic outlet. I mean, like, Paul Stanley paints, some bands go off and they brew their own beer and everything. And like, you're doing your soap. Like, I think that that's kind of a cool thing because again, it's something that you can sidestep out of from what you're so accustomed to doing to kind of break up the monotony, but then to also kind of do something, I don't know, different. You know what I mean? Like, I would have never thought of like, wow, Rachel Bolan put out soap. Jesus. Okay. But like, I would have been like, that's kind of badass. You know what I mean? Like,
and it is, honestly, it is another avenue to be creative. You know what I mean? Like, I'll think of stuff with my girlfriend. Like, I wonder how this would smell with this. And so we'll try it. And we'll make a bar of soap or a bunch of soap, and we'll wait the 3 weeks and we'll test it and be like, yeah, this works. This is great, And then so it's cool. It's a really cool process. It's a really fun process, and it's just another avenue to be creative, man.
You don't do it like Fight Club style though, right? And go steal fucking bags of like shit out of like dumpsters and stuff, right? To make it.
Yeah, liposuction fat. No,
like the life.
That's a little gross.
I was like, yeah, dude, I'm not using that shit, dude. I'm sorry, dude. I love you, man, but I'm not going to use that.
I'm still wondering if that's even possible. Because that's the first thing that popped into my head. I'm like, I wonder if they could do that. But it is a fat. You use oils, but yeah, that's gross.
You're like, where's the nearest clinic? Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
You know? Well, so where can people pick it up, or is it available for order yet, or are you still working on it, or like what's?
Oh no, it's well, right now I think the website is dirtyrockersoapco.com.
Okay.
And yeah, we've been selling the crap out of it for a few months now, and I don't know how much is left in this batch, but there's about a batch a month because it takes time to cure. So we're stepping up production. Let's say that. But yeah, there'll be new stuff posted soon, and yeah, it's fun, man.
Man, all I can say, dude, is that it's been great for all these years to have Skid Row still around and making some of my favorite music, and you know, and to, you know, keep bringing the goods, man. And I just love that out of Skid Row. So
That's all I know how to do, man. I could pluck a bass or flip a burger. I love burgers, but I really like to pluck a bass.
You'd rather eat burgers than make them, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Leave that to the professionals.
Exactly. Well, dude, thanks again for doing this, man. It's always a gas to talk to you, man. And this was really cool to kind of catch up with you and just kind of just waste some time on COVID, man.
Yep. Killing COVID time.
Well, thanks again, Rachel. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk, man. It's always a pleasure, dude. And good luck and stay well and healthy and all that good stuff, man.
Thanks, bud. You too, man.
All right, dude. Thanks.